There are many benefits to the deadlift. The deadlift strengthens the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, the gripping muscles, even the core. So it's a big bang for your buck movement. With just this one lift, you can get a lot accomplished. Every now and then, however, you'll hear somebody say they hurt themselves while deadlifting. Quite often, this is the lifter's fault and not the deadlift's fault. I see people using poor form quite often, but another reason people hurt themselves doing the deadlift is because they lack sufficient hip mobility. To properly deadlift from the floor, you have to have enough hip mobility where your hips sink to the point where you can keep your chest up and your back flat when deadlifting. If you don't have that hip mobility, you run out of room, so to speak, with your hips, and your back will have to compensate by rounding your spine. If you have to round your spine to lift anything off the floor, whether it's a baby, a dumbbell, a barbell, that's a recipe for disaster. So if you still want to get all the benefits that deadlifts offer without and if you do not have proper hip mobility yet, there's an alternative here called a rack pull. What you do here is you set up the pins in the squat rack, usually at about knee height to start, and you do exactly the same thing that you would for a deadlift. As you can see, I do not have to bend my hips as low. I still keep my back flat, chest up, lock my glutes out, and repeat. So again, if you're not ready to deadlift from the floor because of lack of hip mobility, start with the squat rack and do rack pulls instead. Eventually you'll work your way down to the lower pins in the squat rack till you get to the point where you improve your hip mobility enough to do deadlifts from the floor. So there you go. Use rack pulls or deadlifts in your routine, and I think you'll like the results.